not a very pleasant parsha in terms of, the topic. A good portion of it. It's about negativity and all that kind of stuff. We've all heard it before. But there's a very interesting spin from the Rebbe Elimelech of Lezhensk, how he puts it. And he's always talking about the tzaddik. So, whether you consider the tzaddik to be, the person like V'amech Kodom Tzaddikim, how Klal want to do the right thing, as long as you want to do the right thing, genuinely, or whether you consider it to be the Rav or the Tzaddik Ha'ir or whoever it is who's a very, very good-natured person, good-hearted person, Shem Torah mitzvahs and everything, and always looking to how he can do better and better and better. That is another way of looking at it, at somebody, considering them a tzaddik. So, actually, you know what? Gary, would it help you if I sent you a PDF of the text so you can follow? No, you're fine. Okay. Because we've got the printouts, so I forgot to upload them. Okay, so the Noam Elimelech says like this: Shelach lecha anoshim. These three words, Shelach lecha anoshim, which we've read many a time, either of you more than I have, which means send people out to go and scout the land, and I think Rashi says that Shelach lecha. Why Shelach lecha? Shelach anoshim. So it says, I'm not telling you to send people, but if you want to do it, then do it. Says the Noam Elimelech, the Hine, Tzarech ha'adam, every person, avoidas has to serve HaShem, the creator of heaven and earth, and everything in between, and everything above and below. So the first thing he needs to do to serve HaShem is lehistakel tamid v'sheflosai, to look. I'm going to translate it literally for right now. I'm going to recap in a second. To look at his lowly level. B'sheflusai means to his low level. V'leshaber, and to break, v'lachnia, and to subjugate, es agashmios, the physicality of our artzios. And again, another kind of expression for physicality. But our artzios seems to be that which is accepted as norm. So, physicality is the same physicality everywhere. But artzios, I think, can be understood, particularly when it's referred to Eretz Canaan, referred to the way of the land, the way that things are. When people in a certain country behave or talk a certain way, whatever it might be, and you say, well, this isn't right. And people say, well, this is the way it's done here. That seems to be artzios. It's like a reality which is cast in stone, and that's the way it is, and that's the way we have to accept it, and we're not going to change it, and we don't need to change it, and therefore, because we don't need to change it, or we shouldn't change it because it's an affront to the locals and to the way things are done. So just to go over the word b'sheflusai, what he's saying is, because we're talking here about Sifrei Chasidus in the 1800s, this is 1800s. They didn't preach lowliness of the human being. There's not the Muslim movement. Chassidus was something very different. And so we have to be very careful when we use such words, which could, for many people, seem to convey a message of, I'm a nothing, I'm a nobody. In some schools of Musa, they would say, I'm not even a nobody, I'm not even a nothing. That's not the kind of message that Noam Elimelech is trying to promote here. What he's saying is, b'sheflusai, on the level that he is, which is only a fraction of his potential. Meaning, we can all look at ourselves in the mirror, look at our lives, look at what we've done, and it's not that we are, as they say in Yiddish, machin avek, or looking down on our life experiences and how we've dealt with them. We dealt with them because we were doing the best we could with what we had at the time. That is as Jews who we are, to identity. We always try to do the right thing. We don't necessarily know how to do the right thing, and life teaches us as we go through it, and as we ideally become wiser with time and with experience on how to deal with things better. But we do our best. But at the same time, I can be comfortable enough to say, yeah, not bad, but we can do a lot more, can't we? And so you've got one eye on the ball and the other on the destination where you want it to go. So that's the first step in serving HaShem, to just do check-in, reality check. What's going on for me? What have I done? What am I doing day to day? Where do I want to be? And then base, the second thing is lachashev tamid remus kale, to think about the lofty level of our Creator, v'leilech v'machshavos taharos, and to go in pure thoughts, v'lezakech v'letayas machshavto, and to refine. Zakech is a very important word. To refine, v'letahar, and to purify machshavto, his thoughts, and through this thinking and through this agenda of thinking about, more lofty things. He brings his soul up and up and up to its roots. And it's funny that it uses the expression to its roots, because the roots are down, roots are not up. But it's been said many a time that, in fact, the neshama in this world represents that upside down tree, where the roots are in Shemayim and the branches are here. Or, said in a different way, we are all spiritual beings having a physical experience in this world. So a lot of us, when we think of ourselves and the experience that's ongoing for us, we think of, and then we think of the neshama and everything, we think, neshama is some kind of pure alter ego. No, the neshama is actually me. It's just through my experience here and all my experiences that I have come to express myself in this way now. Meaning, the interesting thing, and it's obviously on purpose that way. But when the soul comes into this world, it can't express itself, can't speak. All it can do is cry. First thing baby does when it comes out, it cries. Because we don't really want to be here. We don't really want to be here. We're sent here. The Mishnah tells us that we are created against our will, and we are sent here against our will, and then we are taken again against our will. And we'll explain a lot the screaming of a baby, because that's the only thing it knows how to communicate. And imagine if a baby was born with the faculty of speech, right there and then. I think the world would come to a complete standstill and probably rectification right there and then, because a baby hasn't had the experience of having reality corrupted by all the, what we're going to call mature masks and machinations and anything that we, that us as adults tell ourselves to make ourselves feel comfortable in where we are, even though that's not how it has to be and or should be. And then, interestingly enough, as we're talking about this topic, there are certain letters which keep on being rearranged to convey the same message. The letters of tikkun. Tikkun is rectification or correction. These are the same letters as the word tinok, which is a baby. These are the same letters as the word nituk, which is to cut off. These are all different aspects of the world as it is designed to be. So, for example, the concept of a tinok is that really every tikkun, every correction, coming from wherever we may be coming from, whichever bad or terrible experience we may have had, in order to start afresh, first thing we need to do is a nituk. We need to kind of cut that experience and not let it continue. And now it's okay, fine. Now that's happened. It's an event. It's an incident. I'm making it concrete, because the longer you hold on to it, the longer you give it life. The longer you give it life, the more it can grow. So you have to cut off its life support, this reality that you've gone through, and stop letting it play in loops in your head. And then you can look at it through the eyes of a tinok. Because the tinok, the child, let's not say baby for right now, because baby can't really speak, but the toddler. I've got a 2-year-old, he likes saying why. He doesn't even know what why means, but he likes saying why. Children often, when they start to be able to speak and actually start to be able to understand, try to understand, they ask why more than once, and usually you have to go through many answers. And so often the adult with patience will say, that's actually a really good question. I don't know why. Let's find out together. And so the beauty of this is that it allows somebody to take a look with fresh perspective, with fresh eyes, the eyes of a child, the curiosity of a child. I thought that's just an interesting thought to share. So that's what he's talking about here in a certain sense, when he's saying that, going back to what he said there's two things you need to serve. There's two things you need to serve HaShem. So the first thing you need to do is you need to know where you're standing. You need to realize, HaShem has given me so much more ability and potential to do more, and so I'm going to keep on going. And obviously it's important not to allow that to get yourself down, because you can think, it's just so much work, so I'm so far from where I want to be, and it can really get you down. And the fact that I think the Baal HaTanya speaks about this in the beginning, because it says on the one hand, you should think of how fortunate and lucky we are to have the Torah and the mitzvahs and everything, and the richness of what we have available, of the wisdom, and the chelik halakim mimal, and all these great things. On the other hand, we shouldn't let that get us too haughty. We should also know how lowly we. So we have to somehow be in the middle, and that's the art of life, the constant balancing on where we're standing. And the second thing is to think lofty thoughts, basically yes, I'm not where I want to be, but I know where I want to go. This is what the pasuk means by Yeshuva mitor ha'aretz, and the people came back from scouting the land. That is the pashat peshat, the actual translation of the words. But in a derech drash or remez, maybe even to a certain extent, sod light, if you will, that these tzaddikim, because at the end of the day, these 12 Nasiim, they represented 12 different tribes in Klal Yisrael, which means they represented 12 different mindsets of Klal Yisrael. And what I mean by that is that every shevet, they had their own bezdin. When they were in Eretz Yisrael, they had to have their own. If people in Shevet Yehuda had a dispute, they could not go to the land in the bezdin in Shevet Binyamin. Why? Because the bezdin in Shevet Binyamin would not be able to give the right psak, simply because the bezdin of Shevet Binyamin did not live in the reality of Shevet Yehuda. Right? They lived in a different reality, and so therefore, when you've got these 12 neshamas which were very pure when they were picked, unfortunately, the negativity spiraled out of control, and they became known as the 10 Meraglim. Although there were 12 Meraglim, but the other two, they knew that it was good. Kalev and Yeshua, although Kalev davened and Yeshua got a bracha from Moshe Rabbeinu, but they had gone, their intent was entirely pure. Interestingly enough, I mean, it's actually quite interesting to think that Moshe Rabbeinu had sent Yeshua as the representative of Yeshua's shevet to go to Eretz Yisrael. Like there's a lot at stake here. Yeshua had been Moshe Rabbeinu's prime disciple, and he was gonna take over. And Moshe Rabbeinu sends on this mission, which could mean that Moshe Rabbeinu may have to pick another disciple. If not for Moshe Rabbeinu's bracha, apparently Yeshua would not have been able to withstand the test of the Meraglim, and he may have joined them. So it's on the other hand, Moshe Rabbeinu had, he had faith in Hashem, and he trusted Yeshua that he would prove himself as the leader of the nation. Because unless you believe in the mission, then how can you be considered the leader? If Yeshua would have been sat in the midbar and not gone out to scout Eretz Yisrael, then how could he be trusted as the leader of the nation to take Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael afterwards? So it's interesting to know what was going through Moshe Rabbeinu's mind when because I think if I'm not mistaken, I think they were selected. I don't think there was a go roll for the Nesiim to go to maybe it was a vote. Don't know. Interesting to see. I'm sure the elections there were nothing like they are here. But this is what the pasuk means, that they came back from scouting the land, Eretz Yisrael. They brought back their neshama to the root of where it came from, through these two methods that we discussed. So recognizing where they're standing and lofty thoughts, being real and doing an accounting. From scouting the land, what does that mean? By looking at, by scouting, through the reality of the layer of their own land, of their own reality, to subjugate it and to say, no, this doesn't have to be this way. I know that things are like this right now. I know that this is the way that I interact with people on a day-to-day basis. I know that this is the way I do business. I know that this is the way I do this, and this is the way, and this is the way I daven, and this is the way I go to tzedakah. But it doesn't have to be like that. It can be better. It's basically not being happy with the status quo. And in fact, as a nation, we've never been happy with the status quo. We've never been happy with the status quo. The story last week of the Messianim and complaining. Complaining wasn't just about the complaining. In fact, funnily enough, often people will be complaining not because something isn't something else, but it's not the way that the constant is. So people, we're very, as human beings, we're very comforted by sense of continuity, things, expectation, etc., etc. And the moment that changes, that's usually when we complain. So I don't know, internet's down. Oh, internet's down. Or I don't know, I haven't got something in the shop. Our favorite pastry sold out. We don't usually complain, walk into a shop and complain, how come you haven't got this special whatever? I mean, yeah, there are people like that, but we're talking about the general, in general, I don't think people particularly do that, because they're very bored. But coming back to this, the idea of not accepting the way that things are, and just tend to say that this can be better. The second thing was, Miketz Aboam Yoin, when it says in the pasuk that it took them 40 days to scout Eretz Yisrael, on a higher level, on a higher meaning, what this means is, Hu HaTorah shenitna lamem yom. This is the Torah that was given after 40 days. What does it mean after 40 days? Doesn't mean obviously the Torah, because the Torah itself was given after 49 days. What it's talking about is a set of 40 days. So when Moshe Rabbeinu went up after Matan Torah and he went up to get the Luchos, so after 40 days he had come down, and then the rest is kind of history. But it was always that he had to go up for 40. There was something about this 40-day number. Veloshain Kates who say for Tachlis. The idea of Kates Habar Yom, Kates means end, and it doesn't just mean end. It doesn't mean the end of something like the end of the story. It means that reaching the final goal, the final objective. Kates can be translated as an objective. That while they were going on this journey, this is something which is very interesting now, a very interesting perspective, because when we look at the 40 Nesiim, we think of 40 great. 40 Nesiim. We talk about the 12 Nesiim and the 10 Meraglim. We think of people that had that tzaddikim, obviously very special people, but there was something there which wasn't great, and it kind of grew and grew and grew for 10 of them to become something negative, which made them basically say some not great things about Eretz Yisrael, and 2 of them which managed to, through tefillas and whatever else, be okay. But apparently what he says here is that they were for 40 days, they were just thinking machshavas taharos. They were thinking very lofty things. That is the main goal of limud Torah, to purify your mind, to we use this to refine your thoughts. At the end of then it comes to the end of 40 days and you reach the objective of where you want to go. That's what Shelach HaNashim means. What does it mean Shelach HaNashim? To send men. Through doing mitzvahs, you create malachim. So if you're creating malachim, then surely you're going to want to create, the elite, the best of the best. So you gotta make sure that your thoughts are pure. And with subjugation, with humility. Shelach. That's the idea of Shelach. Send them up. To send means to traverse a long distance. You have to send something to for it to go somewhere. Leich is to go. So that can be a short distance, long distance. But to send something, that requires usually a long journey. To send them up to the roots, and to you, especially, what does it mean to you? It means to you, meaning each and every one on their, from where their standpoint is. There's no two people are the same. Why didn't it say Shelach Lachem? It should say Shelach Lachem. Speaking to all guys, Shelach Lacha. Send for you. It's not for Moshe Rabbeinu, obviously, because Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't particularly excited about this idea of sending Meraglim. So, what's the Lacha? Because it's a lesson. It's not just about the Meraglim. It's that each and every one of you, when you have to ascertain and you have to do record and you have to review of where you're standing and how you can improve and what you can improve, it's personal. It's different. It's different for each and every one of us. They looked. Eretz Canaan is a way of saying Eretz, again, like we said before, the way of the land, where things are, the reality of how things are around me. Eretz refers to a place, but a place can also be a place in my mind. I think it's once been said, a lot of people look for the city of happiness, but don't realize it's in the state of mind. So in the mind is an entire world. As Canaan, the idea of Canaan being Hachna'ah, to subjugate, Perish Canaan, Histaklis Ba'atzis Lachnion, Zelash and Canaan, B'Kalahaven. So just summarizing again, the whole concept of Shelach L'cha Noshim is a template, a roadmap, as it were, to personal growth and development. You want to grow personally, you want to develop personally, you want to become the person you want to become? Okay, what's the first thing you need to know? Know where you stand, know where you are. Can't know where you're going if you don't know where you're coming from. And then if you realize where you are, don't let that get you down. Know that you're going to great places. You've got great potential where you want to go. And now you can start your journey. So that's the first lesson from the Reb Elimelech. The second thing he says, Ayema. I just want to pause a second, actually, before we move on. Because it's something which is really, really, to sit with it a little bit, this idea. I mean, this is nothing, it's not so revelatory in its content. It's revelatory in how he reads it in the Psukim. I mean, these concepts are concepts you find in many Sfarim. But how he fits it into the narrative of Shelach L'cha, that is, for me, it's new. And I think in terms of how he's talking about everyone's personal journey, I think it's something that, I'd like to share something that last week I was having a discussion. And I was talking to somebody about the existential question, who am I? That question we all ask ourselves, who am I? And depending on who you are, quite literally, you'll answer something else. But then it dawned upon me, should I be asking that question? Does it matter? Does it matter who I am? Of course it matters. I need to know who I am. Okay. So just like people that need to know the news, doesn't really matter. Because if you need to know something, you'll know something. So again, not all knowing is important. Bit of the lesson of the Eitz Hadas, having to know. And the conclusion was, it is an important question, but the question is, what are you coming to answer? What answer are you looking for? Because there's a danger, as you'll find a lot of people say, when you ask them, well, this isn't really nice. You did X, Y, and Z. It's not a really nice thing to do. And a lot of people will have the audacity to say, this is who I am. This is who I am. I'm cast in stone, and I cannot change because this is who I am. So if you're worried and the answer may lead to you being that kind of person and say, Now I know who I am. So if I'm ever faced with a challenge which is different than who I am, I can say, well, this is who I am. And so it's false. Because when you're asking, who am I? What you're really asking is, what skills do I have? What tools do I have? What affinities do I have? What methods can I use to improve the life of myself and those around me? That is really what you are asking with the simple words of who am I? For me, at least. And so when you're asking that question, you're giving yourself the answer. It's important to remember, you contain a chelek elokim mima'al. You contain the divine. The divine is within you. And in fact, I was learning with somebody, Tanya, last week, and he said to me, he said, it's a tip-tipah, as they say in Hebrew, of the actual being of the neshama which resides in the body. Because the body cannot contain the power, the true power of the neshama. It cannot. And with all the levels, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chai, achidah, the 5 levels, and going back to the roots, it's so powerful and so strong that there's only a fraction of a fraction within the human experience. And that has unlimited potential. So we can't cast ourselves in stone. We can't say, this is who I am. We can say, this is what I do, this is what I've done, this is what I want to do, where I want to be. That we can say. And that's fine. Because actions, human actions, at least from our perspective, those are limited. I switched on the light, I switched off the light. We may not be able to see how that reverberates and affects the lives of those around us, or anything that we do, or say, or feel, or think. But quite factually, it's important to know my actions on a day-to-day basis, my thoughts, my words, my speech. Where is that? And really, who am I is not the right question. What am I doing? That is the question. What am I doing? Because that's the only thing I can measure. Who am I? I can't measure who am I. Is there a barometer to measure who am I? If I'm going to get the answer where I know it's right? No, actions I will know that I'll be right, because yes, I remember I did that. I'm not crazy. And in fact, if you look at the Aseret HaDibros, it's a very interesting way that the Aseret HaDibros are words, particularly looking at the first of the Aseret HaDibros. Anochi HaShem Elokecha Asher Etzeisecha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. HaShem is introducing himself to Klal Yisrael. It's the first time he's having a conversation with the entire nation. He's introducing himself. And he's saying, hello, I am Yod Kei Vav Kei, which, again, doesn't tell us very much. It basically means I am, I was and always will be. Elokecha, your God. That you understand. That's a point of reference that you didn't understand, because they lived in a culture which had many, many gods. And Hashem is saying, I am your God. And what's the next thing? Yeah, we know. We were taken out of Egypt. We know that. We were there. So we can relate on this. So Hashem is introducing himself to Klal Yisrael in a way that they can understand. But your neshama isn't coming to you and say, hello, this is your neshama speaking. I am this and this, and I am so and so.
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Sorry?
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Yes, of course. Thank you for joining us.
Until next week, yeah?
And Metz Hashem, Refuah Shlema.
Refuah Shlema, Gary.
So, that's why it's very dangerous when you're asking that question to realize, what are you asking? What are you looking for? Where do you want to go with it? Because the ramifications of getting it wrong are disastrous. Just something I thought is good, it's a good thing to share. It's, we're talking about quite deeper concepts, and a lot of people, for me until just over a year ago, learning Hasidus was something which I saw, it's letters on a page, and for me it was an academic work. And there's so much more in there, and for everybody it's something else. And for me, I felt that this is particularly the way that the Reb Elimelech put these 2 steps, in knowing where you are, where you stand, knowing who you are in terms of, the life setting Hashem has put you in. Then you know where you can go with that. So the next piece, Shelach. It's another way to understand these words of Shelach Echad. Hine, B'zman sheyesh tzadikim, when there are tzadikim, and he says, Av she'enam b'madrega kol kach. He doesn't even say kol kach kavod. Just say they're not all that. They're not like tzaddik deluxe, tzaddik premium. They are tzaddikim. They're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to inspire people to do the right thing. As bekalhu la'tzaddik hasholem lefol polosai. Then the real tzaddik. So when there are other tzaddikim in the group, in the world, then what he calls the tzaddik hasholem, then it's easier for him lefol polosai to do what he needs to do, lachnia hadinim. And when there are bad times coming to the world, for him to be able to subjugate that and to be. It's interesting that he first says lachnia, to subjugate, and then lahamtik, and then to sweeten. It's possible because he's using, if we're going to be using kind of visual interpretation of this, dinim are very, very strong. Dinim are things that cannot really be contained as much. Think of dinim like as if Hashem would have created the world, and he wouldn't have had any rachamim, and a person would have sinned, and they would be struck down by lightning instantly. Like he didn't even have to, finish doing the act. He just would even think about it. Zap, do finished. With dinim,
no one lived.
Exactly. Well, that's why Hashem had to add rachman to it, to allow for free will for people, but also for people to be able to live with the consequences of their actions. Even though Hashem has to sustain a world where the negative effects of people's actions and thoughts and feelings and words can exist. It's actually what the Ramak talks about in the Talmud Devorah, that this person that when a person sins, not only is it that the person sins and that he's basically being a complete kofar and having a lack of appreciation of Hashem giving him life, but he's creating very destructive forces with what he's doing, and these destructive forces should be going to this person every day and requesting to be nourished with life. They should be sapping this person's life in order to exist, but Hashem provides them with life. And Hashem basically allows for the negativity this person has created to continue existing in this beautiful world that he did create. And he's doing this with all mankind, all of the time, 24/7, 365, for the past almost 6,000 years. If we need something to appreciate Hashem, even thinking about that in itself is awesome, amazing, and terrifying at the same time. But going back to this, what he's talking about is that in order to be mamtik a din, in order to make a din sweet, in order to make the idea of a din is that it's trying to create a balance and equilibrium. It's trying to say, you've got a world which is going great, it's going well, your reality is going well and great, and now this person's coming along and is doing something which, let's put it in very simple terms, Hashem is saying, I'm not happy about this. But it's a lot more than that. It's that he's introducing forces within this world which do not belong here. They should not be here. Unfortunately, we live in a reality where it seems that they do belong in, and they should be here, but they shouldn't be, and they do not belong here. And therefore, immediately, the dinim are awoken. Now, because of the rachamim, these dinim are held back, given in smaller bits, depending on the situation, depending on who it is, etc., etc. But there comes a time where I think the terminology is the cup of bitterness is filled up. It's overflowing now. There's too much to hold back. Not to say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his infinite strength can't hold it back, but it's come to the point that by holding back is only causing more damage. It's time for people to live with the consequences of their actions and to let the negativity, the effects of their negativity pour down into the world on them, for them to stop doing what they're doing. And so it's because of that, you're dealing with a very, very strong force. If you think of it in terms of pressure, building and building and building and building, with the tiniest pinprick, you've got an explosion. And that's why the dinim, the first thing that needs to happen with dinim is to be subjugated. You need to push down the force of it. And once they do that, in whichever way they do that, they're tzaddikim. This is a tzaddik hashalem, so he knows how to do that. But from practical, once he does that, then he can be mamtig it, then he can sweeten it, then he can, this force that now exists can be coupled with hamtaka, by sweetening it in whichever way he does. Again, I'm translating and I'm trying to illustrate as best as possible. I'm not the tzaddik hashalom, far from it, but this is what the Noam Melech is talking about. So lefi sheyesh la'ozrim, because he has helpers, this tzaddik hashalom, he has helpers that help him achieve this. This is what the Tana Nava says. Mokim she'ein anoshim hishtadel liyas ish, where there are no other men, be a man. What does that usually mean? So a lot of people take away, for example, if you're looking for Baal Tefillah, and there are no other people that come to be the Baal Tefillah, they say, hishtadel liyas ish, so it's so good to be the Baal Tefillah, because no one's taking the mantle. But I mean that no one's stepping up, step up. That's usually what it's been translated as. But the Noam Melech is explaining that mokim she'ein ish, hishtadel liyas ish, and b'mokim sheyeshish, b'mokim sheyesh tzadikim, where there are tzadikim, ein tzorich latzadik hagodel hanikra ish lishtadlis. Then, when there are other men, so when there are other tzadikim, then the tzaddik hasholem doesn't have to put as much force into it, because now it's much easier, because he's got all this kind of push from the tzaddikim that are doing the right thing, that they are increasing the positive energy in the world, which is the way it should be, and it's almost as if there's a certain, what do you call it when a car's racing and somebody can doesn't have to put so much pedal to the metal to keep up the speed because they're behind this person. Drag, I think it's called. There's a certain thing in physics that when the car in front is going fast and you're behind that car, that because that car is basically kind of pushing against the wind and creating that vacuum, that you can just go along with them. So here you're talking in a certain sense, this tzaddik hasholem in a certain sense, because there are all these other tzaddikim, which aren't kol kach tzaddikim, but they are enough to create, the resistance against the pressure. Therefore, the tzaddik hasholem, he doesn't have to work as hard. But when there aren't any other tzaddikim like this, then he needs to do many kinds of actions and a lot of toiling, because it's all on him now. And the Vezehu, when he refers to Paskin Shah, where he says, Tzali v'roini yesheves Tzion, rejoice, people are sitting in Tzion, in Yerushalayim, ki godol b'keber kadosh Yisrael, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is amongst you. So ki godol, because greatness is amongst you, Kadosh Yisrael. So the question is does Kadosh Yisrael refer to the people in Zion, or does Kadosh Yisrael refer to HaShem? What's the lema? So the Noam Melech explains like this. The Tzion, heim ha-mitzion b'halacha. What does Tzion mean? It refers to those that are mitzion b'halacha, which know halacha very, very well. V'zehu peirosh sahali v'roini, be ecstatic, rejoice. Koyel hatzadik sheyeshivosai, that his dwelling, his living is bein ha-mitzion b'halacha, that he's living amongst these other tzaddikim. Yismach Ma'oid is going to be very happy. Tzali v'roini, this tzaddik that would otherwise have to work a lot harder to be mamtik dinim, to make it good for Klal Yisrael, now doesn't have to work as hard anymore. Because now it becomes easy. V'zehu yesheves Tzion. That's what it means yesheves Tzion. V'zehu perish ki godol b'kerech kadosh. What's the lema? Adei sheish le'ozrim, because he's got helpers, these other tzaddikim. Nisgadol b'kerboy kadosh sabara. They inflate the holiness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hanikra Kadosh Yisrael, which is called Kadosh Yisrael. The holiness of every Yid is HaShem. Therefore, Kadosh Yisrael refers to HaShem, which is the spark of holiness within every Yid. Zehu Perish Shelach Lecha Anoshim. That's what Shelach Anoshim means. V'tzalema L'tevascha Tiresh Yeh Lecha Tzadikim. You should make sure that the Shelach Lecha Anoshim, that there should be other Tzadikim there. V'yasuras Az Canaan. They should help you to scout and to subjugate hadinim, the strong judgments and the klipos, the layers, the shells. That's why Eretz Canaan is called that way. Eretz, like we learned earlier, Eretz refers to a certain state of physicality or a certain sense of reality within this world, created by man. So again, this covers the same lesson as before, that the concept and the avoida in Eretz Yisrael and in every one of our lives is to subjugate. Everything in our life, every experience, everything that we have going on around us is there for our benefit because we need to flex our muscles. They're just, resistance exercises. And without actually putting in the effort, you won't be able to get there. And that is the lesson that Noam Reb Elimelech is teaching each and every one of us. Speaking to myself here, to realize that we have amazing, amazing potential, but we've got to put in the work. We've got to put in the effort, and we can do it because Godel B'Kirbech Kadosh Yisrael, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy Spark within each and every one of us, is infinite. It's so great, so great. Use Trump words, whatever he says, bigger than anything else you've seen before, bigly. That if we truly just let it express itself, we'll really realize how strong and how powerful and what great heights we can reach. So, good Shabbos to everybody, whenever it comes. I know it's only Monday, but Shabbos soon. And thanks for joining.